This time I'm working on a Sony Midi-HiFi system. This is an XO-D10 model from 1988. It's 35 years old. This MIDI system's fairly comprehensive. It's got a record deck, radio tuner, equaliser, twin cassette deck, and it will connect to a CD player, but it's not actually included in this one. These were styled like the full-size Hi-Fi separates, but these are not actually separate, all one piece. It makes it a lot cheaper to manufacture. The record deck's got the smoked acrylic lid. It doesn't stay up, mind you. Don't know if it ever did, to be honest. And you can see at the back where they've taken the cost out, there's not a lot going on. It's not even a plastic back hardboard. Wow. Inside I can see quite a lot of daylight actually. It's got two antenna inputs for FM and AM. Got line input sockets for the CD player. And some rather nasty speaker terminals. Oh, not a fan. But it's certainly seen better days. Look at these buttons all little, crikey. Yeah, something wrong with the mechanism there. It's not much better on this side. And how do you make that come back up? Not much happening there. Come on. That's the laziest tape door I've ever seen. And look at the state of the inside. Oh, there's years of dust and muck in there. And this one's also very mucky. Wow. Don't think it's had a lot of use, so I don't think it's going to be too worn out. Presumably this is a volume knob, but everything's worn off. Oh dear. It's got a dodgy plug. I need to investigate. I'm always wary of plugs when I see wires hanging out the bottom. It's not very tidy and I always wonder what's going on inside. I don't know why it's got a black label on it either. It's not a can of Carling lager, is it? And British made. You don't see that very much anymore. So a British made British plug. Yeah, it is old. It hasn't got plastic sort of sleeves around these pins here. Let's have a look inside. Oh crikey. Oh, I'm glad I checked. That is not tidy at all. Look at that. I don't think it could actually touch, but there's a lot of loose wires hanging about. Look at that. I mean, credit to the design of the plugs. It touches that end of the fuse, which is okay, but it won't reach over there. But yeah, I don't like how they're doing this. Look at that. Oh, that could touch. And a 13 amp fuse. That's ridiculous. These plugs always come with these as standard, and I don't think they should do that. I think it's more like 3 or 5 amp. That's about 3 kilowatts you can pull out of that. Oh, guys, so loose. Wow, what's this one? Oh, it's not even tight. Oh, crikey. I wonder if this has actually had some sort of problem in there. A bit discoloured, but the wires don't look bad. Yeah, this gives me the heebie-jeebies. Here's a nice new one with the plastic shrouds on, I'll point out. And inside a standard 13 amp fuse. Too big for most applications. Thread it underneath the cable clamp. That's a pain to forget that. You can always unscrew it later. Pop that 3 amp fuse in where it belongs. And the lid on. Nearly done. And now we can plug it in and turn it on. But it's not the most exciting display on here. Well, the buttons work. Put some pins in here. And hook the crop clips on. This will be a nice quick connection. I've even got an antenna rigged up outside for this. Let's see if the radio works. Well, there's something in stereo.
This is breakfast for free. For the next 3 days delivery, see website for details.
Well, that's a good start. The radio's working. Try the record player now. Oh no. Well, this lid's going to annoy me. See if it'll just lift off. Yes, it does. Well, it's all a bit plasticky in here. Well, at least the cueing mechanism works. It's not got much damping. And I do believe this is a plastic turntable. Nasty. See if it runs. Oh no, I can hear the motor running. Just check the cartridge is running. Oh yes, that's fine. I suspect the belt's gone on this. Get this up. Just fish the circlip out. Oh, there's the belt. Dangling inside. We get our first glimpse at the mechanism. It looks very reminiscent to the old BSR and Garrard decks, just made of plastic. Quite like the speed change mechanism, look at that. Clever. Cheap clever though. We'll use a CD input for our test signals so we can see if everything's working correctly. No crackles on the volume knob. Perfect. Let's put some square waves in this. Now just check the response to the graphic equaliser. That's 100 Hz. We've got 330 Hz. 1 kHz. 3 kHz. And 10 kHz. It's exactly what we expect to see. Same on the other side. Works as expected. Try the long wave band. Don't know what we'll find on there. That's the only thing being broadcast, I think. Well, we'll try medium wave. Okay. Okay. Well, most of it seems to work fine. So it's the tape deck and the turntable, the bits that move. Let's get it apart. Well, I think I'm just going to undo every single screw in sight. Normally the record deck just lifts off. Oh, it's sort of falling apart. Well, there's not much in there, is there? Big box of air. Well, there's a few decades of dust, I reckon. You can see how they've saved the cost with these MIDI systems, all like sort of integrated together. And at the heart, that's the power amplifier module, the STK4122. This is the volume pot here, this board, with all the dust. But all this space here, just to hold the pot. I think actually this is for a motorised pot. Oh, it says there, you fit these parts on the D20 model only. Of course, this is a D10, so it's all manual. The back of the cassette deck here, you can see the belt's just all loose. Oh, it looks a bit sticky. Oh. Oh yeah, look. It just breaks up into little pieces. Oh no. And this doesn't bode well. We've got little bits of broken plastic here. Oh no. Is this to do with the door mechanism, I wonder? There's also a spring in there, just loose. Oh, crikey. And the other deck's exactly the same, look. Spring lying around on the belt. Oh yes. Sticky belt syndrome. I think I'll have to hoover all this dust out though first. This whole front panel's going to have to come away, so I'm going to have to disconnect the wires. Fortunately, most are on some sort of plug or connector. Oh, but then they spoil it with a cable tie. This is for the headphones, but it says power supply there, but I think it's close to the speaker terminals, makes sense. This will be for the tape heads, this will be for the erase one I think. And these will be the two playback heads. Finally, these are for the two cassette mechanisms. Luckily there's a different number of pins on these, so you can't get them wrong. Best way to deal with these power cables, I think, is just take the switch out. I think there's only just one screw for this side bracket. Hopefully that's all I need to take out. Probably a couple screws on the bottom. Oh crikey. Quite a lot of screws on the bottom. I wasn't expecting that many. What's it stuck for now? Oh, I see, we've missed one. And there's more screws to come out. And we see the source of the broken plastic, this part here, and that should have something on there, and probably related to a spring that's round here. That's why the doors aren't opening properly. Oh well, let's keep taking screws out. Judging the shape of this moulding here, this should just pivot, I think. There we go. Oh dear. Buttons come off. The story's getting worse and worse. I've been collecting up all the little broken bits I've found, and luckily I think I've got them all. 2 springs, 2 little levers, and some little... I want to describe these. If you look at the back of this cassette deck, you can see here there's a broken button. That's the play button, is all floppy because there's a lever missing off it. These should all push these metal levers up when you press them. Clearly there's more stress on the play button and that's caused the trouble. These buttons pivot on this brass rod here, or brass coloured rod. I bet it's not brass. They just sort of pull off. Give this a bit of a brush off because it's absolutely full of fluff and dust. It's pretty rammy. And this deck's no better. Although, why would it be? Well, for the initial fix, and I don't think it's going to be totally permanent, I'm going to put a bit of CA glue on there, or super glue. And just glue the parts back in place, so it will hold them in their sort of correct position. And leave those to set overnight, and then I can think about how to reinforce it. I'm going to reinforce it with some epoxy resin and stick a bit of steel nails in where I can, just to give it some strength. These buttons are pushing these levers up, so they're putting a fair bit of stress on there, so I think I'm going to reinforce it with a nail, which I've ground down. Oops. I'm going to stay there. It will stay there when I've buried it in epoxy resin. There's not a lot left. And that's it. That's the tube gone. Start working this pretty quickly because because it goes off quite fast. On these pivots, I'm just going to put the epoxy around the outside, just to make it a bit thicker. Whilst waiting for the plastic parts to set, I'm going to see if I can get the motor off this and change these belts. And there we are, using the old flux brush now. Managed to get some new ones. It's taken a couple of decades for me to find out how to do it, but I've got new brushes. I think the belt would have got wrapped around this motor pulley and it got all sticky and horrible. What a mess. Yeah. We'll do the same on this deck. This one's a bit more elaborate. It's got an extra few buttons. But hopefully it's the same principle. Just 2 screws. Yes, it is. Oh, there's still rubber belts under there, under this capstan. Well, that's going to have to come off. Let's take this sort of split washer off there, single plastic disc. I just found using side cutters work quite well. As long as you get them underneath, you can just lever them off. There we go. Now you can just pull away. Just going to try and get all the dust out of this, because there's a lot of it and it's got itself in all the little nooks and crannies. Like a squirt of isopropyl alcohol. General cleaner really. Doesn't appear to be too much brown muck on these. Maybe I've already cleaned most of it off, to be fair. But yeah, the pinch roller, that's normally quite mucky in these. Let's clean this one as well. Nice clean tape head, that's what you want. You often get a bit of brown muck come off there. That's the residue off the tapes. Builds up after a few years of running. Unless your tapes are terrible. I've seen that as well. You can see the capstan roll, there's absolutely caked in the brown, was it? I don't know what it is. Some sort of iron rust. Look at that. All that muck coming off there. I did think this thing hadn't had a lot of use. I've changed my mind. This has had a lot of use. It's really thick at the edges. Look at that. I might take this pinch roller off to clean this one. Might be a bit quicker if I do. Yeah, it doesn't look in bad condition. There's that line there, but it's not a It's not actually a split or anything, can't feel it. Yeah, I think that'll be okay. Bit of alcohol across here. I'm just going to sort of drag it across. Well, you can see a bit of a skid mark, shall we say. Anyway, it looks loads better now. Happy with that. Just reinstall it before I forget where it came from. Just pop this spring out the way, just get it to stay down out the way there. Just have to pull the plastic thing back. There we go. There we are. That's it. So turn my attention back to those buttons, because I had a little play off camera and broke one. So a little bit more repairing. And you can see what I'm on about here. They've all got these little plastic hinges and they're missing off here, so there's nothing to hold them on. Which was the original failure on one of them, I think this one, but now I've done it's this one as well. Otherwise, I think the gluing up with the nails worked quite well. It's got some strength in it. Yeah, happy with that. So I need to remake some sort of hinge, and I don't think glue is going to work. So I think I'm going to drill some holes down along here and make wire hinges. And pop some 1mm holes through here. Another one there. Another one there. As long as I don't drill through my finger, that could be a problem. So cut the wire off to about that length. I'm going to put a bend in there, a nice arc. I don't know what diameter that is, probably about 8mm. Then I'm going to put another bend in with about a 3mm diameter there. So I'm going to poke it through the hole there, then hopefully tease this top part to the top hole. There we are, a bit like that. Then roll it round with some pliers. Yes. That's it. Then it should close up. There we are. That's the first part of our hinge. I think that'll do it. What I'm going to do is just fill that with a bit more epoxy resin and that should be there forever. Why is the yellow stuff always a lot thicker? Come on. It's supposed to be an even quantity, that is. I don't know which is the hardener and which is the epoxy. Oh, that'll do. That'll have to do. Well, it said it sets in 5 minutes, so yeah, we're going to crack on. We'll just poke these levers to these little holes, and then this bar should just locate in another little hole. because the motor mechanism holds this all together. That holds steady there. Hopefully it doesn't all fall apart in my hand. I think this one's a bit worse, it's got more buttons. That shaft to just pop in there. Yes. I like it when it threads in nicely. Now luckily I found some belts in stock because I don't want to buy parts for this thing. Now to confuse you, every single pulley on this has got two grooves. So there's the top and the bottom one. Same on the capstan, same on the motor. So the first belt to go on is the bottom one. I think the bottom on both of these. So I'm going to start with wrapping it round the capstan. And then it should be quite easy. Let's get it on the top groove there, see how it looks. Definitely out of line. So we'll drop it down a row. Yeah, that looks good. The motor pulley is a bit harder to get at, so I might need some angled tweezers for this. Just going to pop the belt on over the capstan again. This is a smaller belt. There we go. That was a bit of a faff, but there we have. Drive belt fitted. Perfect. There we go. I wonder how it's holding up. There we go. Beautiful. We'll try the cassette door in now, see how well this gluing holds up. If it'll go in. Now the nerve-wracking part, getting the spring on. This is where we find out how good that glue joint is. Oh, it hasn't pinged off yet. That's encouraging. You're under a fair bit of strain there. Well, we'll hope that stays in place. Put the little damper gear in there. It's there to slow the progress of the door. With that much spring pressure behind it. It'll throw your tapes across the room. Let's put the mechanism back in. If I recall, it just slides in. That's secured in place with these screws here. Same with this side. Wiggle it in. Can't remember how I got it in now. Like that. That was it. Let's get this screw in. Hold it all in the right place. I'll put my thumb over this to reinforce it, and hopefully with the pliers lift the spring into the right position. Okay, let's see if that holds up. Well, it certainly looks a bit neater now. Love that lovely action. Oh. Oh. Oh no. Well, that didn't last long. Oh no. Oh, cock. Well, I haven't got a plan B yet. What if a spring went there? Put this piece of chassis support back. That does provide a bracket there we can actually launch the spring from. That's got some promise as a design. I think I've got an answer for this now. It's something cheap and quick. I'll take a piece of tin copper wire, so I've got it lying around. Cut a length of that off. I'm going to make a bit of a cranked sort of pin here. Like that. I'm going to make a little eyelet here. Like that. With me so far? Now it takes some life. I'm going to put this to the centre of a spring and use a pliers just to pinch that up. I'm going to put the end of this crank link through the hole that I just drilled through this plastic gear, this quadrant. There we go. Cut this screw on here. This will be a retainer. Then hook this spring just over the screw. There we have it. I might as well do both sides the same because this is probably going to break as well, despite all my best intentions. It's a bit tight to get the wire in from this side because the motor's in the way, much worse than the other side, so I'm going to poke it through this way. Just sort of bend it through. There we are. Little crank in that end. I can pull this straight then. Got to put the headphone socket back in before this bracket goes back on. Just hook it in there. Just hook this spring on. Let's give it a test fire, shall we? This one here is near the mains transformer, so let's put some thread lock on this so I don't need screws coming loose. Might as well do this side as well. This is the prototype side. You can see I've put a few different drill holes in here, trying different spring tensions and positions. Time to join it up with the chassis again. Put the main switch back in now. It's the last part of this front panel. Put these plugs back in. They all seem to sit where they came from. That's quite handy. Now I need to put the back on as well because it holds the record player up. This is the antenna connections. Put the side cover on. Makes a bit of a faff though. There's a few tangs on there. Have to sort of all line up. Okay, just thread the screw in there. Just put the cable ties back in that I chopped off earlier. Keeps it nice and tidy. put the test tape in, see how this one performs. It's supposed to be 3 kilohertz, let's adjust that. Yeah, this one's thereabouts alright. It's not the most stable tape transport, but yeah, I'm having enough of this one. Get the turntable back on. Only one plug on here, nice and simple. The spindle looks a bit manky. Ooh. We'll just clean that old grease off. It's not very nice. Just a little touch of nice fresh grease on there. Put a nice new fresh belt on here. Just tuck it over this little tag. And if I've got it lined up right, that'll fit just over the motor as I rotate it. Oh. There we are. Moment of truth with that part. It should be 33 RPM. Got a 45. Yeah, that's great. In theory it works. I need to test it though. Well, the sound coming out of both channels, so that's a good thing. Let's try it on the slower speed. Yeah, speed's working. Okay. I'm happy with that. That's all you're getting from him. I'm not going to make a fat lot of money out of this repair, and I could do that giving ad revenue to Chris Rea. Well, they're on the home straight now, just giving it a good old clean, just a dust and a bit of a wipe over. Because after all, I've cleaned the insides. I mean, look at it, it's spotless in there now. Not forget the lid, which is rather floppy actually. More broken hinges. Actually, they're plastic. I'm not surprised now. Yeah, look at that. I didn't notice earlier, but yeah, the ends broke off these, and I think there should be some sort of spring in there with some sort of thing to retain this. Not like that. Yeah, definitely the case. There should be something up there which holds it like that. Yeah, okay. Let's take the other part then and see what I can come up with. It's a bit quick. Well, we'll try these. Untested prototypes. Oh well, I tried. I'll try to make amends so I can put right the missing markings off the buttons. This is a CPM 100H printer from Lighthouse. They're the distributor in the UK. I think around the world it's made by a company called Max. It's a high quality printer and it even cuts the shapes out, anything you like. If you lift the lid, you'll see the media in there. Now we're using transparent vinyl for this job, but you can load in anything you like. They sell a big variety of stuff. Now this printer is very versatile. Look, you can have real nice stickers like this, paint mask, barcode or whatever. A variety of materials, reflective ones, see-through ones. I've used them to create these. Very handy. And you can draw the things you want to print on any software package really. I personally like Visio because it's nice to use. You can literally copy and paste that straight into the main software package, which is called Lighthouse for Macs. And this is very similar to a package called Nice Label. It's not very hard to print. You just click print. Find a corner to peel it from. There we go. So that should leave all the labels intact. They're not cheap, but you get what you pay for. If you fancy one of these, I'll put a link in the description. Just mention my channel when you speak to them. I'll start with the volume knob. I'll pull that off so it might be in the way. Let's peel the sticker off. Well, that's freshened it up a bit. Looks less knackered now anyway. Well, I'm not doing any more with it now. Catch you next time.